I don't want to have sex with my wife now that she presents as more masculine. I, 39F, have been married to my wife, 42F, for 8 years, and her evolving gender representation has impacted my physical attraction to her. When I met her, she presented as androgynous with a feminine edge. She had shoulder-length hair and wore girly underwear, but otherwise dressed in a very gender-neutral way. She had a feminine body, and I was very attracted to her. Over the years, her gender representation has shifted starkly toward masculine. She wears men's clothing, men's underwear, and she has a very short masculine haircut. She also lifts weights, and has a much more muscular, masculine frame. I 100% respect and honor her gender identity, and do not wish to change her. I feel honored that our relationship has given her the space and comfort to explore her gender identity and allow her to find something that feels authentic to her. By the way, she prefers she, her pronouns. Just in case there is any question of me not respecting her in that way. However, there is a small problem. Now that she is presenting more masculine, I find myself far less attracted to her. I have always just naturally been more attracted to feminine-bodied or androgynous types. Since obviously I love my wife, I have given it time, thinking maybe I need to adjust to the new presentation. Thinking that perhaps with time, I will integrate this new gender representation into the idea of my wife, and the attraction will return. But it has not. I love her dearly, and I love the life we built together. We have 2 beautiful children, own our dream house together, and have really merged our families in a fairy tale kind of way. But our sex life is just awful. Where I used to see her across the room and think she looked sexy, I now see someone I would have never been attracted to in the first place. This has led me to shrug off her advances, and I have become much less proactive when it comes to sex. She has complained that I do not make her feel attractive, and that makes me so sad. I feel like this situation has us both in less than ideal circumstances. She is not feeling attractive and appreciated for who she is, and I am not feeling drawn to my partner in a physical way. She deserves to be appreciated. I just worry I am not able to authentically do that. I have been really down on myself, feeling like a shallow person, unable to overcome things like clothes and haircuts and muscles. But I can't seem to change it. Whatever made me a lesbian in the first place is still very strong in me. It feels like trying to change my own sexual identity. What do I do? Do I throw our kids' lives into shambles to set her free to find someone who loves her for her presentation? I'm sure there are many out there. Or is there something we can do together to reach a better place in our sex lives? I haven't told her about my feelings because I've been afraid to hurt her. I know it took a lot of strength for her to shift her gender presentation and be comfortable in her skin. And I don't want to ruin that. But I also want us both to be as happy as we can be. And I'm afraid we aren't able to do that together. Please tell me there is hope. Have you communicated any of this with her? She has brought up that she doesn't feel like you're attracted to her, so I think she genuinely wants to discuss this with you, even if the truth is hard to hear. Sometimes there's room for compromise on appearance, i.e., haircuts, date night clothing, makeup. But this seems like a situation in which you both might just have to accept that you're no longer sexually compatible and figure out where to go from there. Shortly after my husband and I had our first child, he started putting on weight and he stopped trimming his beard or getting regular haircuts. He was happy with just being a dad and working his butt off to provide. That meant no time for hunting, hiking and fishing, and the active outdoors stuff he had always done that kept him in shape. He was Still is. A great dad and husband. But the extra weight was a big turn-off for me and I really started avoiding sex. I spent 2 years struggling with it. I felt awful, selfish and shallow. Here he was, killing it as a partner, and all I could think about was how to tell him I was less attracted to him. He knew something was up. He wanted more intimacy, and eventually I broke down and told him what my problem was. I was sobbing as I told him. His response was a shrug and is that all it is? The next day he went and got a haircut and beard trim. He fixed his diet. And he started exercising every morning before work. Within 6 months, he was in better shape than he had ever been and has maintained that for the last 4 years. He even inspired me to get in better shape myself. Now, I don't mean to equate my husband gaining weight to your wife changing the way she presents. I just mean to say that I suffered for a long time alone and was actively hurting him by avoiding sex because I assumed he would be hurt by my words or that he wouldn't be willing to change. I was wrong. And by finally being honest with him, we were able to make changes and get to a better place in our marriage. Speak truth to the ones you love. Always. Even without gender identity and gender-changing couples grow apart. I am no longer attracted to my ex-wife. She didn't change. We just grew apart and I don't see it anymore at all. You don't have anything to feel guilty about. You also lost something here. Sadly, it sounds like you two have a lot of talking to do. Sit her down and talk to her gently. Make it clear that you want her to be happy with herself and not change for anyone. And apologize for not making her feel attractive. Then follow up with kindly explaining to her that you don't find her sexually or physically attractive anymore. Make sure she knows you don't want to make her change, but that you can't just change your preferences for her either. If she can't understand that, then you have bigger issues. The issues seem to be surfacing already by her telling you it's not your say or business when you tell her you prefer her long hair. My fiancé has long hair, and he was considering cutting it off a while back. I prefer his long hair. So I told him, either one would look good on you. But personally I like your long hair. He thought about it and decided not to. And just got a trim instead. I didn't tell him he shouldn't do it. I didn't tell him that it wouldn't look good. I just informed him of what I liked. And he understood. That's how it should be. But she's taking your expressing yourself as, you're trying to change me. You can't tell me what to do. I'm my own person. She's acting like, although you guys are in a relationship, a joint effort, you don't get to have feelings and opinions about her. That's unfair to you. I think before you throw out the whole marriage, you need to be honest with her. This will allow her the opportunity to consider if she wants to make adjustments or not. You owe her that much at least. It's possible she's staying fit at the gym cause she wants to stay in shape for you and doesn't realize you're not into it. Maybe it's not a big deal for her to go back to her old-fashioned style. You're making a ton of assumptions because you're not talking. She's not a mind reader. Just as it's perfectly normal for her gender expression to be rather fluid, it's also entirely normal for your sexuality not to be. Don't view this as you being shallow. View it as a strong confirmation of you not finding men attractive. I don't think there's an easy way to bring this up in conversation. You still love your wife dearly, and still have an amazing emotional connection. So I'd encourage having an honest conversation with her. Whether there are things you can do to improve your sex life with each other is dependent on what each of you are comfortable with. At the end of the day, you being a WLW relationship, it's totally normally to develop lessening sexual feelings for a male presenting partner you're specifically looking for a same-sex partnership, and even if your wife isn't changing her gender, she's changing her gender presentation. And it is bound to cause stress on the marriage. I really think you should approach this calmly in a private setting between the two of you and start off by affirming her way of life, but just explaining how it impacts you as well and where to go from there. It just occurred to me that your wife has to know what's happening. She had to expect that these changes would affect you. So I suspect you are both afraid to have the conversation. I am going through something very similar to this. The thing is, my partner doesn't think of sex as a big deal. But last year I think we had sex a total of 5 times. If that. I think seeing a therapist would be a good step. Even couples counseling. It sounds like your relationship is worth fighting for. Attractive is a very subjective thing. She has shifted away from what you find attractive. She has every right to be her, but it's unreasonable to expect what you find sexually attractive to stay in lockstep with that. It's time for some very open discussion. Couples therapy could help facilitate that communication. Expecting to be able to find things attractive that aren't attractive to you would be no different than expecting her to go back to being feminine for your benefit. You would obviously never do that to her, so why are you trying to do it to yourself? It just sounds like you guys are no longer compatible, and that doesn't make either of you a bad person. Honestly, I would show her this post and thread. Everything you said here was raw but still kind and respectful. She needs to hear this. You support her and her wants. Maybe it's time to support you and your wants. Talk to her. Jesus. Communicate this to her. You can open up with all the nice stuff about love, etc., and then land on that if you like. At least it'll make sense to her. Maybe it's not a big deal for her to change a little bit. In the end, it's her choice as much as it's your choice. I think giving up a perfectly fine relationship just because of sex is pretty stupid. But hey, that's just me. First step is always communication. You have so much to lose. Kids' happiness. Wife as life friend. Whole family together. But you still need to open up and talk to her. Maybe involving therapy here. I hope you can preserve what you have and make some arrangements to find middle ground. Co-parenting. Friendship, family. But most of those options lead to separation, as real romantic partner will be found sooner or later. Sexless marriage is option for some couples. But obviously not in your case. Talk to her. If it's fixable, it will be fixed. If it's not, then the conversation you hold with her will tell. There are 3 choices. Emo 1. Accept her as is and live with it. 2. Ask her to change and determine your actions thereafter based upon the response. Or 3. Chalk it up to growing apart and move on. None are great choices, but I really don't see any others. No one can make you be attracted to her despite societal pressures to do so. There's only one answer here. You're attracted to a feminine body, and there's nothing you can do about that. My husband loves a feminine body, and I wouldn't expect him to still find me attractive if I went masculine. It's very good of you to accept who she is, but sexual attraction is important. You need to sit her down and be honest with her. If she gets defensive, maybe find a counselor to mediate the discussion. She needs to understand that her choices to be more masculine in appearance is affecting your attraction to her. And if she gets offended, she also needs to understand that she too has her preferences. Would she still be attracted to you sexually if you gained 100 pounds? We can't help what we find physically attractive, and if you got with her and she was your ideal type, she can hardly get angry with you because she became the opposite of that. She wants people to accept her preferences. She needs to accept yours. Is there a way for you two to work this out? I sure hope so. But it has to come from a place of honesty from both of you. She has to take an honest look at your perspective here. Your feelings aren't invalid. Hard pass. That's a wrap. Time to be up out, homie. Sounds super toxic. You can't have sex if you're not attracted. That's how sex works. And I get where you are coming from. Tell her straight.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.